It's a Scorcher. We're lagging. It's kind of crazy. Jesus. Okay. Give me a sec. I think I saw a red coming in. Man, this is not loading in very right, is it? There was an update today. It took like an hour because it's 300 megabytes. It patches. And then it fucking installs the rest of the entire game. For no reason whatsoever. We are lagging like crazy. Let's just hopefully finish that soon. We are doing the usual. I don't really have a choice. There's nothing else for me to... Jesus. Did the settings change again or something? No. But we don't really have anything else to do in this game other than prepare for the boss fight. The best way I can do that is by getting us best way I can do that is by getting us an orange saddle recipe. Okay, it looks like he hasn't been on. That's totally fine. I don't think we need that, realistically speaking. I don't really feel like we need that. We don't need that. Definitely don't need that. Slide those in there. Slide that in there. But yeah, we should be, generally speaking, here fine on everything. Like, I don't need to do anything for us other than get us this saddle. Anything else is like a bonus, if you will. Oh, that is the right one. Alright. I didn't think it was. So, what I'm gonna do is take us off. I think we're lagging still. But we'll take us off. That's a yellow. I'm not gonna bother. We'll fly central here. If I can tame a phoenix, I'd love an extra phoenix, because then I can actually kind of use it without feeling bad if it dies, because I will have gotten it. And you know, it won't be our only phoenix. So we'll take a little peek for that. I should probably bring... Yeah, I should probably bring taming stuff. We can still use better RGs. We don't really have any, like, outstanding ones. Ours are, like, decent, you know? Like, they're fine. They're okay. Jeez, bud. Yeah, this game's like we just got off of playing a game called Goofy Gorillas. It was just me and Panda. Moo isn't on today. Honestly, really fun, just the two of us. We're gonna probably, hopefully, get everyone else to play it. It's only like $4 right now or something. There's like nothing to it. You're basically in a Chuck E. Cheese with, you know, like a ball pit and, like, it's not a jungle gym. What do you call that thing? I don't know what to call it. Like those padded play room? That sounds psychotic. But yeah, it's basically takes place in that, and you're, I guess, kids. And you get, like, toy weapons, and you can do death matches and tag and stuff. And we didn't get to try all of the modes because some of them required more than 2 of us. But we did try quite a few, and it was quite fun, in my opinion. I really do think it would translate well to the whole crew. Like if everyone, apparently the max players is 4, so if everyone we know plays it, we'd have too many. But if everyone we've played with like semi recently, like we get like maybe 4 plus to our usual like 4. So myself, Moo, Panda, and Toasty, plus say Spiff. She sometimes plays with us in Everwalk. He also sometimes plays. Why is it so weird saying they sometimes play with us? But you know what I mean. Like that's 2 more, and maybe at least 2 more. I feel like it would be pretty fun. I don't know that you need the 10. I mean, I think it would still be pretty fun with just like the 4 huge crew, but it's always more fun when you play party games with a large party. Unless you're losing, in which case, if you're me, you rage and you quit. You flip the table upside down or something. Okay, we're overheating out here. Can I take these off and be fine? Alright, so what we're going to be doing is arch spotting and crate getting. You guessed it. I think that's a sandworm, right? Oh no, it's a South Sea. It's my bad. Okay. Alright, we out here. Let's go ahead and try and up our view distance. Hopefully we don't lag too bad. If you have any game suggestions for us, please let us know. Tweet them at me. Leave them in a comment on YouTube. Stop by when I'm live and just drop it. I do have a Discord. I've taken it off. I think it might still be on YouTube because less bots seem to follow those. But on Twitch, basically, every time you go live, like a bot would join my Discord and be like, add me, you know, for follows or, you know, to buy from us, right? To buy art or whatever. It's just, I just got sick of it. Like, I'm not gonna buy your shit. I don't know you, right? Whatever. I feel like I don't have to explain why it's a terrible idea to fucking buy art from a goddamn spam bot. Like, y'all smarter than that, so I don't need to explain why that's so stupid. And I just don't understand, like, it can't be worth it for them to do it, though, right? Like, nobody actually buys? Unless it's even beyond that, and it's like you add them, and all they have to do is like message you, and maybe they can like hack you somehow, get an IP. I know they used to be able to do that with it wasn't Discord, TeamSpeak. I think it was TeamSpeak, and I think Skype as well at one point had a pretty major vulnerability. Be nice nice to land, wouldn't it? Do you have food? You don't. Is it producing sulfur over time? Where am I getting sulfur from? I was gonna say, is it every time I breathe? That would be kind of cool. Be kind of OP though. Raw meaty boys. Okay. Wow. Wow. This might be the longest fucking overheat we've ever experienced. It's the one time I'm not actually looking. If I have time tomorrow, maybe off stream I'll... I thought that was it for a second. Maybe off stream I'll like try the Where's UK mod, or maybe Vanilla Bean for 7 days. I feel like I've been really wanting to play it and I haven't been able to play it because I feel like our solo world, the One Life, it's been way too long, and I know that sucks because we were like Horde naive on that, but it's been way too long to go back to it. And then I don't know, I don't feel like I want to start a run while we're kind of in limbo, because right now we're not sure if my save file on Moo's PC is any good, and I am fine with the strat that I don't think I've talked to him about like exactly how I think we should do it, but the strat is I've talked about it on stream. I load in, if it crashes me again, he comes out to my place, I pick up my claim block, he places one, and then you know, I make sure all my stuff's stored in a chest there. He deletes my character data. I come back fresh as a level 1 noob. He comes, picks me up. I drive to the house. He picks up the thing. And I start from 0. My concern here is this will be a temporary solution, because we have been noticing like major errors with the world in general. I honestly Jesus. I I honestly, that was my neighbors doing fireworks, by the way. They got some left over, I guess, from the 4th of July. I honestly believe the issue stems from Moo upgrading to version 1.0 experimental for his install for our modded run here. I just don't think it's a good thing. It's probably too late to revert, if I had to guess. Like, I think the file is just corrupt. Like, that would explain why we are getting like POIs around me resetting every time I go to dig. It resets what I've done. Like, it just overall doesn't seem to want to compute that I exist or the things I do happen. And I think it's like, I initially thought it was like a desync because I'm on a different version. But now I think it's because he's on a different version. And the save file just isn't the same. And I think this is backed up by, well, the fact that all my shit's scuffed. But also that the player data is on his PC, even though it's, you know, for my player, because he's the host. And, is that 125? Oh, it's level 25. And, damn, I shouldn't be looking while I'm trying to speak. 90. There's one more. So it's the player data over on his PC is probably the issue for me, because that's where the save is. And it also seems to have affected like the world itself. I don't think if it were on my end that would be possible, right? Because the save file would be fine. And this is also once again backed up by the fact that when I tried to launch the mod through experimental version 1.0, it absolutely would not launch. I would basically get a string of errors, and then it just wouldn't ever bring me anywhere. So I'm not really sure why it's working well for him. I guess maybe the only thing I can think is he had the mod folder in his thing. Like, the only difference I can think is he had the mod folder in his like 7 days when he updated it. Whereas the way I've been trying to do it is I have the mod folder separate, and then I put it in after I download the latest version of the game. Because I was trying to get the cleanest install possible, since I thought it was on my end. So maybe like there's some sort of added compatibility. Not necessarily purposeful, I suppose, but like just by the nature of it being pre-installed. I think that's level 90, right? 70 or worse. So all of that's a long way of saying I don't really think we're gonna be able to salvage my character. We can maybe salvage the run if we are gonna buckle up for a hard time, which, you know, I will probably do for the sake of my friends, so they don't have to start over again, because I personally hate that we've started over so much in such a short amount of time. But I suppose we'll see with all that. I didn't talk about this yesterday, but I did watch the latest episode of The Boys, and I'm seeing like a lot of controversy about it, and I get it. Like, I'm actually happy to see it. Now, major spoilers. Major spoilers. There is a male sexual assault scene from a character that was just heavily traumatized by like emotional things in their life, and now this happens on top of that, and it's done in a very comical way, and that's usually not a huge issue, right? Like the what is it called, like Herogasm or whatever, from one of the earlier seasons. Like some stuff happens in that's quite beyond arguably sexual assault. Like it would literally be, but it happens in kind of a comical way, and there's humor in it because it's like, oh, so and so is in there to be undercover, and you know, in essence, consenting to the group orgy, right? And the milk squirting or whatever the fuck happened. I don't even remember. Or like the penis explosion one from, I think, like season 2 or something. Or like the dude crawled inside another dude's dick because he can get small, and then he sneezed and exploded. Right? Like, they're done in a way that they're just like, they're funny because they're unbelievable, right? That can't actually happen. So like the assault in that, right? Teleporting into an orgy, people don't teleport, right? And infiltrating it, you know what I mean? Like, people don't actually shrink and crawl inside another dude's dick, right? Like, so there's humor in the murder, unfortunately, in the death, because it's absurd. Like, it's absurdist humor, and it's shock humor. This time, it honestly, like, in the time, I thought it was like just being done comically, because like while watching it, I thought it was being done comically, and I gave it some laughs because I'm like, oh wow, they're really doing this to him, right? They're gonna take this seriously though, the way there was another very prominent sexual assault with Starlight, one of the main characters, being forced to give the Deep, another main character, a blowjob, right? So they handled that very seriously. It was not like a comedic scene at all, but like, you give them the benefit of the doubt that it's being over the top and awkward at the time, because you think it's going to end up being like a serious situation with like serious consequences, and it never really kind of pans out. It just comes out, I guess, that it was traumatizing for the character and it was fucking awful, but there's like no, like, there it felt pointless. Like, there was no real payout in terms of character development or growth for anyone, and there was no real like story promotion from it, you know, like, or not promotion, but story development, I guess. I didn't want to use development again, but I guess that's just the only way I can do it with my small brain, right? It just kind of happened, and it was like funny because it was so absurd, but then they just left it at funny. They didn't take it seriously, right? They made a joke out of it, and I honestly probably would have just been like, oh, I guess that's in poor taste, but yeah, whatever. You know, it would have been fine. But I guess the writer for that scene on the show came out and said it was hilarious. and that seeing it as the assault and rape that it was is a bad take. Like, what? How do you perceive it that any other way? Like, you could, in quotations, get away with it, right? Because it is absurd the way things happened. But I just feel like it should have been given the same gravity. I don't know. It just felt too light. And I've kind of been feeling that way about this whole season. Right? It's all spoilers, I feel like I already made that clear. But Homelander just got like too weirdly evil. Like, once again, spoiler. He just like straight up goes and starts committing mass murder. Like he went from I need to be a hero and sometimes killing people for the cover-ups and the convenience of things, or accidentally killing people, to now just like blatant straight up raw murder whenever he feels like it. And spoiler. He's very easily guiding his son down that same path. And I just don't feel like they're going anywhere with it. Right? Like, they just made it so that he kills anyone on a whim for any reason. And there's been like some characters that they've added to the show that felt like they had a lot of potential, and they're just like throwing them away to just like pop them. Like, it feels like they're out of ideas, and so they're doing obscene things because scenes. That has to be a sandworm. Scenes were received well before, such as like the head popping scene, or the scene where Homelander is about to snap and imagines himself burning a bunch of people to death with his laser eye thing, right? They saw people's response to these scenes as, oh wow, that was really well done, and thank God some of it wasn't real or whatever. And they seem to just be running with it like, oh, people love all this exploding part shit, I'll get more of it. I think they just don't get it. You know what I mean? They don't get why people liked the show. It wasn't about that necessarily. It was portrayed better, right? It was working better. Like, everything about it was like both serious and lighthearted. It was like relatable. And it just seems like they've gone full absurdist without actually giving a payoff to the absurdism. Right, like it. Oh, that's poop. I thought that was a bag. They're just making the characters overtly evil instead of, yeah, they're probably evil. You know? I feel like it was just better when it was more nuanced, more satire, and less SNL, but like X-rated. And that's crazy for me to say, I feel like, because I do actually like SNL, but it really just feels more like a series of skits where they try and pull off something obscene, more than it feels like they're telling a story right now. Like, it really doesn't feel like they're telling a story at the moment. I do know where it's going, but I don't know why they're going where they're going with it. I was gonna say I don't know where they're going with it. Like, I know what they're doing. You know, they're setting it up exactly predictably. But, like, what for? Level 15, huh? I don't know. I like, I'm still, well, it's episode 6. Will there even be another one? I don't even know at this point. I don't know how long this season's gonna be. I think they're usually 6 episodes, but there was just nothing. This last episode gave us nothing. It was so stupid. It felt like filler. It felt like anime filler, right? Where, like, they don't have a story, so they just, like, made something up to animate with some, like, fan service type joint. And that's the best you get. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, they fan serviced it. They picked out things that they thought the audience liked and did it. But it didn't have the same effect. Like, the people didn't like it the same way because there was no meaning behind it. Right? The delusion scene where all the crowd gets mowed down by Homelander works because he's breaking mentally. Right? Like, it wasn't just gore for the sake of gore like they've been doing here. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know that if the season's over. It kind of, I feel like there's usually like 6 episodes a season, so it feels like it is. But they didn't fucking do anything. Like, the story went goddamn nowhere. Each episode felt extremely unrelated. I just, like, the only theme is prison. That's how I'm gonna put it, and it just doesn't feel like it's a good storyline to follow. Like, what are they gonna do? Make Prison Break 6 or whatever the fuck? I don't know. I'm just a little disappointed in it, I guess. I'm still gonna try and stick it out. Same like what I've said with, like, The Witcher. I feel like it's gotten progressively not great, and now they've gotten rid of, like, the one redeeming guy. It's a 120. I'm not gonna bother with 120. Alright, so I'm like, what? I'll try it. Like, I'll give it a chance, because it's not unfun, but it just doesn't feel like The Witcher. You know? But it just seems to be like a prevailing thing. Like, shows draw from something, they don't know what to do with their success, so they just, like, throw stuff at a dartboard they fill with ideas that worked once and pray. I don't really feel like I need this. I might just throw this down at a Titanoboa and hope. Maybe I'm being overly critical. I feel like what brought this up for me, though, is the interview, right? Like, I would have probably not talked about The Boys at all tonight if the guy didn't come out and just say he thought it was a hilarious sexual assault. Well, he didn't. He said he thought the scene was hilarious in response to being asked about it being, like, a sexual assault, basically. I think it actually might have been even more loaded than that. Like, the interviewer thought it was even worse. So, I would not be talking about it if that guy didn't, like, open his yapper and be like, yeah, it's not even a big deal. Like, who cares about men getting sexually assaulted? Can that even happen? Come on, man. That's funny. That's hilarious. And that's not even like the most obscene thing the dude said, which, you know, honestly, I guess he's just an absurd guy. Right? I think it was Batman he accused of being a fascist for beating up poor people, which I don't think Batman really does. I guess maybe the Joker is probably poor. Then again, he does do a lot of grand larceny. So, like, I guess maybe in the tax books, he's probably poor. And he probably can't own property, but I imagine he gets by. You know, on account of the murders and the thefts. I feel like almost every other villain is also rich. I mean, barring the live action Mr. Freeze, where his wife is frozen because she has this rare condition and he's trying to find a way to cure it because he thinks he can with a diamond big enough or whatever. Like, barring that, I think almost every other villain is seriously, genuinely villainous. And I don't think very many of them are actually particularly poor. Like, in my Scarecrow, whoa, okay, is like, for example, in the movie, Scarecrow is a psychologist, and no, they don't always make like insane money. Like doctors, you have to get a doctorate, right? You have to get a medicine degree, right? Or like a master's or a doctorate in medicine. They don't always make a shitload of money, particularly since I think he worked for a public, like, defender, I guess. No, actually, who did he work for? He worked for the he worked for a crime family, didn't he? So, like, he probably wasn't particularly poor. I'm not gonna bother taming that. I don't think we need to. There's nothing's gonna come out of that for me. I'd rather look for a Phoenix. Bane, I guess, was poor, but it's not like Batman knew that. Right? Like, he didn't target him because he was poor. He targeted him because he was fucking killing people. Again, from movie Banes, he was like a major criminal in the one with Poison Ivy. And then he was also, again, a League of Shadows member and major criminal for the Dark Knight series. Like, Harvey Dent Two-Face was not poor, right? As a district attorney, as a public lawyer, if you will. Is he making as much as someone in a private sector? Probably not, no. But I don't think anyone would call him poor. I feel like he always wore a quality suit, right? Or the other Harvey Dents. Like, I don't know. I don't get the take, really. Just seems uninformed of the things you're criticizing, which is why I'm only bringing up, like, ones that I know of. I guess there's ones out there that maybe I don't know of. But I'm pretty sure every like comic and every cartoon Batman I've ever seen, they're typically fighting people who are like causing genuine and great harm to many people en masse. You know what I mean? Like they're almost never like small time burglars. And I feel like I want to say I've seen ones where he like just kind of blocks the way of small time like purse snatcher types, but doesn't actually like do anything other than like threaten them into stopping. I feel like he generally in like movies he would just kind of project the violence he would do, but not actually do it unless they were direct henchmen acting on like the Joker's plan or something, like actively engaging in truly nefarious shit. I don't know, maybe I'm sugarcoating it. Maybe he is a fascist. Obviously he's not, but whatever. I feel like that's like saying Superman is a fascist because he only generally defends Metropolis. And like, why not the world? You know, why not poor people? Why doesn't he go to Egypt to defend struggling families over there somewhere in the Middle East? Right? Why does he generally stick to where his love interest is, I wonder? Why doesn't he go help poor people across the world in the Philippines for some reason? Let's just say. I'm just throwing out somewhere that I've always assumed Metropolis is in the United States, actually. But, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. They're in these towns because they're in these towns because it's a fictional character. And it's easier to write about Metropolis or Gotham City than it is about places you've never been. Let me just write about Buenos Aires and how Superman doesn't speak fucking anything but English. He's gonna be a real benefit to have in one of the hundreds of countries that don't speak English as a main language. Hey, buddy. I mean, why does Spider-Man stick to fucking New York, right? Actually, I feel like, wasn't Moo and I talking about this? That, like, so many fucking comic book characters are in New York City. Like, why are they all there? All of them. I just don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where the guy probably would have felt the same, but should have just kept his yapper shut instead of being a dick about it. I would like to go for that, but last time I cross-mapped it, we got screwed. Alright, we're going for it. Curious what other people would think about it. I don't mean specifically the Batman thing here. I think I'm curious more about like the performed sexual assault at the expense of effectively male dignity and calling that hilarious. Like, it's only funny when it's not real. But like it's portrayed in a serious way like that. Like, I just can't imagine anyone. The show would have been canceled if that guy said this about the coerced blowjob from Starlight, which, quite frankly, is, not to compare traumatic, non-consensual instances, but is not nearly as vile, if you will. You know what I mean? I don't know why I bothered eating that. I really just feel like it's the attitude that disgusts me about it. Like, it leaves a bad taste in the mouth. No pun intended. Damn, I'm still overweight, huh? Oh, give this back. Feel like I should stop talking about it. I'm wallowing. What I'll pivot to is it just like opens up the eyes, if you will, to the major issues plaguing. I don't want to call them TV shows, just shows, I guess. Modern shows. Like, they all just seem to, not all, but like, they'll seem to start out real good, and then just somebody involved fucks everything up. Writers, right? You know, The Witcher, this show. Just have a vision, and they take like some of their. It's like that one friend who escalates things. You know what I feel like people know that, where like they test you, and you let them get away with something because, oh, that's funny, right? And everyone has a laugh that time, and then they go further. And you're like, wait, hold on a minute. But they go further because they've already gotten the approval from laughs, right? And they're looking for the line, right? They're trying to hold that line of off-color or, you know, brutally offensive shit, while still trying to maintain some sort of friendship with you. Right? Right, we've all had someone like that in our lives where, like, you know, sometimes I will make off-color jokes about, usually myself. I tend to not direct them at other people. Right? I'm trying not to do that. So I will do that, but in a self-deprecating way. And that's easy to get away with because I'm the target. But then there's like people who target someone else. And then some, you know, people will laugh, but the target isn't laughing. right? This is one of those things where they're taking it too far. The target audience isn't laughing because they've been testing the waters, right? They've been riding the line, and it's been funny, and so they took that as the go-ahead. But those were funny for reasons that this isn't, right? Those were absurd and not any form of like actual potential situation that somebody could have been in and been traumatized in. And those were making light of situations that, but let's move on from that. We'll take The Witcher as a thing. The writers blew it by disagreeing with, I guess, the original storyline of Witcher. So they effectively, I guess, bully out the one guy who wants to stick to the story. Like, why even go with The Witcher? You could have your fantasy story, your high fantasy story, with any character names in any universe. Draw inspiration from The Witcher, nobody would know, because how many high fantasies in this type of realm are there? Fucking millions. Nobody would ever know. Right? People liked The Witcher because it was The Witcher. Right? You were drawing from a pool of fans. Look at Game of Thrones. I've prided myself in never having seen it. I've read the first book, which is called Game of Thrones. The rest of them actually aren't called Game of Thrones, interestingly enough. Fucking hated the book. Interestingly enough, for practically the same reason, actually, that I disliked the latest Boys episode. It made way too light of immense traumatic sexual experiences and described them instead with glee, nonchalance, and pleasure. Right? The things that stuck with me, and all I think about when I hear, oh, I love Game of Thrones, all I think about is the opening incest scene. I don't know if the show opens with that, but the book pretty much does. I think it's like the second chapter. First chapter is the only reason I read the entire fucking first book. Moo would love that thing, by the way. Fucking purple pyromane, are you kidding me? But the first chapter about like these fantastical otherworldly beings is the only reason I read the rest of the book. They never showed back up, by the way. Damn, that one's also purple. But yeah, the only reason I read was those. But after like these, I think they were described as like blue otherworldly beings on the other side of, I think they were called, what were they called? The Others or something? Other side of this Great Wall. Right, like, it seems so fantastical, and then the next thing I remember reading is just a fucking vile incest, like, porn fantasy, and I'm just like, bro, this is, like, I immediately hated it, and then I'm like, wait, this is drawing from history, isn't it? I feel like I've read about this before, and I'm blanking on it now, but I'm pretty sure it's based off like a King Henry or something like that, from like a real historical events. And really the entire series is heavily drawn from real life incidences from medieval history. But that's neither here nor there. you know, he's not the first person to basically plagiarize real events and pretend, right? And then the other thing that sticks with me, there's actually two more, but the main one is this stupid fucking rape scene. Not the only one, by the way, but one that really stuck with me is how Daenerys is into it. After having her brother murdered right before her eyes, she's into it and she's dominating him, and it just reads like the dumbest fucking male power trip. As a fucking male, it's hard to convince men that men are this disgusting sometimes, but it was so obvious, right? And it's just the worst writing that she's thrusting and she's into it and she's enjoying it and she's with it, and I'm just like, this dude's jerking off while he's fucking writing this. That's fucking pathetic. That's all I could think the entire time reading it. I think I put down the book for a little bit after that. I just couldn't. It was so sad to read that anyone would like that. Immediately after that, I was like, this is drivel. This is fucking drivel. And what sealed the deal and why I never read another book and why I never watched the shows, because part of the reason I was reading the books was because I was planning to watch the shows because everybody loved them. They were so good. But like the rest of the book is the rape shit, and then an adult but a little person basically trying to fuck a 14-year-old or something. I just couldn't take it anymore. I knew I could not read another book and I would not enjoy the show. And so for me, reading that, I knew right then and there it was a terrible fucking thing. I would not enjoy it. It doesn't take these things seriously. Or it doesn't describe them as anything other than this guy is putting out his own sexual fantasies and thoughts onto this book. Right? This is what he wants to do. This is what he thinks. And I could not enjoy it for that. And apparently people like that. But what they couldn't stand for was the terrible writing at the end of the TV show. Apparently the last 2 seasons were abysmal. They up until then had a bunch of stuff that worked for them, and I guess they just drew on that because the story wasn't done. And I guess they Hollywooded it, right? They boysed it, they Witchered it. The writers sat together, took all the tropes they could find, didn't take any of the storylines seriously, didn't put the emotion or thought into any of it, right? Didn't tell a real story, and they just like whip something up to whip something out. That's really just all it is. There's actually so many shows where they just like they fail, they flutter, because I feel like they get in their own heads of, like, writers get in their own heads of like, oh, well, we ought to do this, they like this, let's repeat this. I mean, let's look at, not even shows, look at Rambo. How many Rambos are there? How many Rockies are there? How many Expendables are there? It's the same fucking thing each time. Look at the, you know what? Maybe I'm crazy on this one. I actually really liked recently Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. The new Beverly Hills Cop. I don't think I actually saw the third one. Apparently there's a third one and this is the fourth. Netflix just whipped it out. I wouldn't say it's the best movie I've ever seen, but it wasn't half bad. It felt very much like the older Beverly, the first one, which was the best one. It felt a lot like that. It felt like kind of like an 80s movie, but happening now, where there were some things that 80s movies did that weren't great, right? Because they were a product of their time. And it addressed those in a modern fashion. And it had some modern things that are kind of cringy to a lot of people, and that's fine. But I think in general, it was a lot more balanced than shit. It was almost like this, like the writers must have been stopped by someone. Like Eddie Murphy himself must have just fucking slapped somebody and said, "We ain't doing that shit. Not right. We're not in this scene. We're not doing your bullshit, or you make light of this, or you write out your weirdo fucking sexual fantasy. We're just doing a good old-fashioned shootout." That's simple. And that's crazy because I actually usually, like, I don't hate action shit, or I actually like action comedies a lot, but like I don't remember liking the second one that much. I was thinking, wasn't this not that great? Never saw the third one, as I said, but like it was solid. It felt solid. That's 4 movies deep, and I think the 4th one is probably the second best one. Like, these studios have the power to not do whatever it is they're doing, I guess. But they're just doing it. And I can't figure it out. I'm gonna put this in this inventory because I don't want to deal with it. What do I know? I'm not rich, right? They're out there making big bucks writing scripts for shit. And it's hot garbage. Seriously garbage. And I'm not. They're making a fat ass paycheck for it, so clearly they're right. You know? They're the ones winning, not me. I think ultimately it's just kind of sad to see shows I've been enjoying like going to the wayside and getting scuffed. And you know, it's not. Ooh, is that it right out there? I think that is. It's not just like Netflix or Amazon doing this. I feel like a lot of anime have done this as well. I'm trying to think of some. I literally just had an example in my head, and now I'm like, what was I just thinking of? Fuck. Am I just not the target audience for this shit? I don't know. You know what anime is actually good? Kaiju number 8. That shit's been a banger so far. I need to finish it. What the fuck did I just see? Oh my god, that thing's insane. Sometimes I wonder if like my distaste for more modern shows either comes from watching older ones and kind of getting used to something, or if it's because as I've gotten older I've learned about things, and that knowledge of things makes me like in a state of disbelief in some cases, you know, in other cases just like unappealed to because I don't find it fascinating. Like I've found my life niches or something and there's no space. I don't know. But I do feel like when something is shown in like a movie or a show and it's something I know, even just like some obscure fact that I learned from talking to someone else or happened to Google at some point because I'm like, what is this or what is that? Like just some obscure fact will make me be like, what am I doing? You know, why am I watching this? Why am I listening to this? They're wrong. That's bullshit. I don't know, maybe I'm tripping. Even between these? Huh. Is this a behemoth gate? Oh my god, it is. Hold up. We might want to save that one. Okay. Oh, I can put the window thing in. Okay. That there. So if I stand here, well, that's interesting. Let me give an example of what I was just talking about. Actually, I feel like I'm not saying like I'm some sort of expert in all things, and that, oh, I'm so much smarter than people who write shit. But like, I've seen an anime. I've seen movies. I've seen TV shows where they use a ticking noise for a wall clock or a pocket watch, because normal watches or pocket watches, or sorry, normal watches or wall clocks don't actually exist on the timeline, so they got that right. But the pocket watch ticks, and it goes, oh man, come on, track. Tick. It's not, why isn't it tracking? Can we do this arm? We must be lagging. I feel like I lag right here. It's gotta be the house then. Anyway, it does what's called a quartz tick, right? There are movements. Hold up, there's a specific name for it. There are watch movements, clock movements, pocket watch movements where the the second hand on a mechanical or an automatic watch does tick. But it's a very specific, I think it's called like some sort of heart. Or heartbeat? Is it a heartbeat watch? No, not a retro. What is a retro? What is Pauline Pierre Paul? Who the fuck is this guy? A true beat? Might be a true beat. Vintage true beat. Yeah, Rolex true beat sounds right for one of them. Basically, the way those work, they're mechanical watches. They're extremely rare and uncommon. So it wouldn't have been likely that really anyone would have one except an extravagant watch collector at this point. And even in the past, they just weren't really something you would get. Basically, they'll like tick a few times before the pinion rotates the second hand. So let's just say it'll do like 3 ticks, and instead of like sweeping across for those, like moving the second hand in a fluid motion, it will hold the second hand at a second marker and then take it over to the next one. So it'll do the 3, third of a second calculations effectively. The 3/3 of a second, 3/3 of a second will pass. So 1/3, 2 1/3, 3 1/3. You're at a full second. So now it's gone from 1 second to 2 seconds, right? And it will tick automatically instead of sweeping the hand between 1 to 3. And that's not exactly a perfect description, but it's the general gist. And those were and still are quite rare. Like, that's not something you find generally in someone's watch collection. In fact, if you know somebody with that, they are probably in deep in watch collecting. If it's a mechanical or automatic watch. Now, if it's a quartz watch, that's extremely common. The problem is, I see it all the time in TV shows and movies and anime. Wall clock will do that in a anime that takes place in the 1800s. Problem with that is, as I said, it's quite frankly effectively impossible to have had a pocket watch that does that, right? So they're emulating a quartz watch or a quartz clock that wouldn't have existed because they didn't exist until the 1970s, effectively. So you're left like getting pulled out of the show because the writers don't do their research, they don't do their due diligence to know that that type of movement in a watch wouldn't have existed, right? The continuity isn't there, and there's definitely more to it than that, right? It's not the only time that would pose a problem or give someone grief or something like that. It's not the only example. But I do feel like, generally speaking, a lot of shows just don't even try. Like cars in a period piece, not from the right era. Right? Watches, not from the right era. Clothes, not from the right era. Like, it's just so often happening that these writers and set decks and artists just aren't doing their due diligence because they just don't care. Right? Your knowledge, you know, let's just say you happen to know when quartz watches and that type of ticking movement effectively was popularized and would be seen regularly. You probably wouldn't necessarily know that unless you were somewhat into watches, and more specifically, almost certainly, like, were into them maybe during the quartz crisis. Like, you probably know that if you're an older person. Maybe not. You might not know the distinction, I guess. Like, you might just think, oh, it's battery powered versus the old-timey mechanical, but I didn't know that they ticked like that. And that's fine. Not everyone needs to know. Not everyone's like a niche fucking dump ass like me. Right? Not everyone knows certain steels were invented, right, for knives, and, right, that might not have been used back in X year. So for continuity's sake, it wouldn't make sense for so-and-so to have you know, this kind of folding knife because they didn't exist yet, or but I just really have noticed like an extreme, not extreme, like an uptick in just continuity errors, and I don't know if that's because I've just raised my tolerance for it, where I'm just like, fucking hell, again? And I'm like sick of that stuff, and I'm being too harsh of a critic, or if it's because, not a brag, but like I've gotten older and I've learned things, like I've picked things up. Like, I'm not saying I'm smart, but like I know things about some things, and I just so happen to pay attention to them, so because I'm paying attention to them, that there they are, and it pulls me out of it. Or if they're just getting more reckless and they don't care because they're just trying to churn out a movie that gets them some profit. I don't know what any of it is, but it's just something I've noticed. I'm wondering if other people notice, like, something you're into. Maybe you're into cars, and they get the car itself right, but oh, those tires didn't exist yet. Maybe those tires, those, you know, that wheel, not from that era. You know, maybe you're that guy. Maybe you're the car guy. Maybe that exhaust is wrong. You know what I mean? That structure of house didn't exist in the 60s or something like that. Like, maybe that's your wheelhouse and you notice it, and it just so happens to be like, oh, you notice it because it's your thing. And because you're noticing it more and more because it's your thing, it really is feeling like it's frequent, but the reality is they were probably always there. And you're only noticing because it's something you notice, right? How many people look at the watches people wear in a movie, right? You're probably the only one, you know, ones you notice are the ones shoved in your face, right? The Jaeger LeCoultre from Doctor Strange. If you've seen Doctor Strange, literally fucking opens a drawer full of watches, and of course he picks the JLC. Why? Because Benedict Cumberbatch is paid to wear them. Great watches, by the way, but right, of course, he's a brand ambassador. Of course, that's what he picks. Oh my God, this gun is good. I don't know. I feel like I've just kind of been complaining about the state of media at this point, huh? I don't know. I didn't really set out to. I feel like it's just all stemming from a disappointment in the boys. I don't. There's been. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. There's been a few like shows, like anime, for example. I have just. I don't know. Like I've been giving them a chance, right? I'll give them the time of day, and then at a certain point, they just don't prove they're worthy, so I just drop them now. Like, I used to even just sit through shitty fucking anime. I would watch all 12, 24 episodes, and I just started dropping them, which is why, like, for example, I never finished One Piece. Fucking 70 episodes in. 70 plus episodes in, and it didn't get better. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad show. I'm just saying I got fucking sick of it because it wasn't going anywhere. It's not for me. What's the one I was watching an episode of last night and I just stopped halfway through, and I think I'm like 7 episodes in or something, or even more, and I hadn't really even been enjoying it. Like I had been trying. It's the one that's a copy of the Villainous Princess or whatever the fuck. It's literally the same show, but instead of a blue-haired girl from a isekai thing, she's red-haired. The most heretical queen, last boss queen. That's it. That's the one I dropped. I also never watched the latest. Not even latest. I think there's like 3 seasons. I haven't watched the 2nd season or beyond of the other one that they're quite frankly like the same exact story of. Because I just stopped like mid whatever the last episode I was watching of, because it was just like so cringe. Like, how many times is whoever wrote this gonna write the fucking kissing a little girl's foot fucking fetish into their stupid fucking story? Like, I just couldn't take it. It's so creepy. It's so vile. Like, why are you putting that in your fucking anime? I don't want to see a 12-year-old girl get her goddamn foot licked by a fucking grown man. Foul shit. Like, what kind of fetish bullshit did you put in this? I couldn't finish it. It wasn't the first time it happened in the anime, and the first time it happened I was like, fuck, this is so cringe. I cannot believe this. And then they did it again, and they'll probably do it again. Like, stuff like that is just 100% a fucking fetish that they put in the story so that they can get off and share it with people. Like, it's literally just fucking erotica smut. And you know what? There are things where, like, if you enjoy that, you enjoy that. That's fine. But for fuck's sake, like, put a goddamn warning label on it, because I wasn't interested. That's not what I wanted to watch. I guess I should have known after the first time, though, huh? That is on me. I should have known. I'm really like thinking about it here. It really is maybe just me getting older and like maybe I have less fucks to give. Like, I just don't give a shit anymore, so I'm less likely to commit time to stupid shit. Because I feel like I used to complain about this a lot, about anime that are just straight fucking fan service. And like okay, I like seeing, especially when I was younger, right? Like, I like seeing titty. I like seeing panties, right? Like, it's fine. Sexual content's fine. But like, as I watched shit, as I got to know shit, it just felt more and more like we were losing real potential for content just for the sake of like a character's tits flopping out because she got attacked and they just, you know, ripped up her shirt and she's in nothing but her panties and her, you know, like, and I'm like, you spent all that time animating that and you couldn't give me like 5 minutes of story instead, or like a real fight scene instead, like. I don't know, I used to watch these anime and be like, yeah, it's not that bad, it's fine. And now I'm like, why did you do that? You just spent 10 minutes on that for nothing. I'll complain about sex scenes in movies. Like, who the fuck cares? Like, what? I don't want to see you, two adults thrusting with like a little bit of bare ass, some nip maybe, and you're in sheets, and it's like 10 minutes of fucking grunting and groaning, shitty cuts where they probably had to do this multiple fucking times. Like rolling it around, and then cut to the next morning, or cut to them laying in bed, sweaty, making small talk witty as ever. And I'm just like, bro, you could have cut out the last 20 minutes, spent that budget on anything else, and just left the laying in bed scene, you know, sweaty and naked, right, and just, you know, barely covered, and the implied the implied relationship would have been all you needed, because that's where the dialogue that progressed the story happened after they quote unquote made love, right? Right, like none of that other shit had to happen. We didn't need a close-up of, you know, Pierce Brosnan's ass or whatever the fuck, right? We didn't need that. We didn't need, you know, close-up of a titty. Like, we didn't need it. We didn't need it. You could have done all the same storytelling with a simple fucking cut to them in bed, right? Or the next morning having breakfast and smiling at each other with like a hand holding. Like, you could have implied just as much with a much more meaningful set of dialogue. I just don't get it. Like, what's the point? What am I missing? Have I gone soft? Like I used to be more fine with it, but now I'm just like, bro, you could add like some sick action scene or something more meaningful here. And I also, this is actually like a long prevailing thing for me. I have always felt like movies are real short. When the fuck did they fall in love? You know what I mean? Like, oh, they just met and now they're fucking? Okay. But why? You know, like, but why? Maybe I became a prude. I don't know when this happened to me. I really just do feel like but why a lot though. Like, oh, where's this coming from? Why did they fall in love? 3 minutes of meeting and, you know, suddenly. Like, huh? When did it happen? This isn't real. It's not believable. This is just here because you wanted to put a sex scene in. Like, You just wanted to watch people have sex in front of you. That's why it's in it. That's it. That's literally it. It doesn't progress the plot forward, right? It doesn't do anything for anyone. It just makes the writers and like the directors horny. That's it. Doesn't make sense to me. I feel like my tolerance, I think this is it. This is my tolerance for losing the plot has just dropped dramatically. And you know what? It's probably a result of the wide scale availability of media, right? Like, I can just go to anywhere, even though a lot of it's kind of sucking lately. I can go anywhere and find something to watch, right? There's Paramount Plus, there's Twitch, there's YouTube, there's Hulu, there's HBO, there's, you know, Amazon, Netflix, every channel under the sun, FX, right? There's so much shit I can just go straight to and find a show or a series and try and watch it. And so why am I gonna sit through the bullshit of these other shows when I can just change the channel? Right? It's not like things used to be where, oh, you don't have cable right now? Oh, that sucks. Guess it's Seinfeld reruns at this time, right? I guess it's this or that, right? It's, oh, gotta watch Lost right now, or you're gonna have to buy the DVD. Sorry. Right? There's no more urgency, and there's no more need to limit yourself, right? Oh shit, I want to watch 24 while Lost is airing. I can't. They're at the same time. They have the same, you know, peak viewer hours at, you know, 8:30. They both have this time slot. I don't even know the time slots, obviously. I think they were both like hour-long shows, right? Like, you couldn't do that. And so you would sit through the kind of shit because you wanted to watch the other 45 minutes of the show because there was some advancement in the plot, and you were gonna have to make it next week because you're already, you know, 30 minutes in, and if you go and try and watch, you know, Lost now, you're gonna be 30 minutes late to that. You've got that on Devo though, or whatever the fuck one of the other recording things were, right? You got the playback, so you can go watch that later, right? So we'll just finish this, and these are only 2 shows because we can only record 1 show at a time, and we'll watch this one this week, right? And if you missed it, you had to wait for a rerun or for the DVD box set release. Now, Axel Foley, right? Beverly Hills Cop, straight to Netflix. The 4th one. Straight to Netflix. I can go straight to Netflix and watch it. Like I said, it wasn't like the greatest movie ever. I just enjoyed it. It was decent. There was not a particularly large amount of just raw sex. I actually can't even think of a scene. There were just moments where, yeah, there was raunchy jokes, and I fucking, you know, it wasn't necessary, no. But it was fine, right? right? Like none of it felt like a forced sex scene, right? It just was more cohesive. So I can go there and I can watch that, and I'm fine. But if it was what I'm talking about, right? If I thought it was just, oh, this is too cringy, I'm just gonna pause it. I can pause it, go on Netflix itself, find any other show and watch it. I can find any other show on Amazon and watch it. I can go to Hulu, Disney Plus, watch it. I can launch a video game and play it, right? I don't have to sit through the boring shit, the pointless shit that doesn't advance plot, that's not a mystery, just diddling for the sake of diddling. Like I don't have to live with that anymore. I think that's what it is. I now have the freedom to not sit through the bullshit. And I think shows haven't realized that yet. I think studios sort of have. Like they're getting there. I think the writers haven't. That's what I should say. Because if you look at like release schedules, why is The Boys releasing once a week? I don't believe they're still filming, right? It's out. It's done. They could release all episodes from a season once the season's supposed to start, like they did at one point. I don't know if they did for The Boys, but they did for a lot of shows at one point. They all got like released, and people would binge watch them, and people loved it. But the problem with that is, while you do watch the show, binge watchers don't stay on the platform. So with, let's say this season is 6 episodes, for example. With our 6 episodes here, 1 a week, that's 6 weeks. If you time things right, you can get 3 months worth of subscription out of someone, right? If you started at the end of 1 month, you get 4 weeks out of the next month, and 1 week out of the next month. You can get 3 months worth of subscription out of people by planning out the release dates in a fashion that makes people wait, right? So now suddenly I've got to sit here and be subscribed if I have any friends at all who watch the show, right, who are going to spoil it for me, or if I don't want it spoiled for me, because God knows there's not a single fucking news outlet out there that won't just fucking straight up put a spoiler as a title. You know, Twitter trends spoilers all the fucking time, right? So like you kind of have this need to catch it as it's released. So now my 6 episodes costs me 3 months of subscription to Amazon Prime, right? And they get some viewer retention, right? So the network, if you will, is gaming the system, but the writers aren't there yet. They haven't realized we don't need to just sit here and effectively watch porn. We're watching it on a mobile device with the internet. I can just go to Pornhub, right? I can just go to any porn site ever and get more, right? I don't have to just sit here and watch softcore shit. Right, this is in the days of HBO is the closest you can come No pun intended. Maybe a little pun intended. But right, these aren't those days anymore. You can get your fix anytime you want. Right? We don't need that in TV shows anymore. We don't need your shitty storytelling in TV shows. We don't need this or that. We are good. We need real decent storytelling, real decent stories. I don't mean real in the sense that like they have to be factual. I mean I want to say based in reality. You know what I mean? Like they have to be plausible, I suppose. Even for high fantasy where shit doesn't make sense, that it, you know, like what I'm saying doesn't make sense. Of course, not plausible, right? It's not real. Right? Star Trek's not real, but it has to be real, you know? It has to be believable. Even if I don't think it can exist, I have to feel like it does exist in that world, right? You have to do things right. I think writers haven't realized yet that you can't keep getting away with it. Right? You can't get away with being insensitive to men and sexual assault, the plight of sexual assault victims, while simultaneously, you know, like you can't make fun of that while simultaneously, how do I put it, uplifting female victims. Right? You have to treat both as seriously or both as comically. Otherwise, people aren't going to think you are serious. You know what I mean? Like they're not gonna appreciate you because you aren't being fair to your audience. Guy crawling into a dick and exploding, absurd, fine. Right? That can't happen. So it's fine. Even though, okay, in theory, if a dude could shrink, crawled into a man's penis, and sneezed and blew up, that's manslaughter, right? Is effectively murder really funny? No. But it's funny because it can't happen. I think that for me again is why like Game of Thrones just doesn't work. That shit's real. Right? The vile shit written about is real. And while victims can enjoy in a twisted sense their unfortunate assaults, nobody's gonna write about it like that, right? That's your fantasy, bro. Like it's not the same. I think I'm lagging out here. Big Hollywood's Jesus, I don't know. I feel like this has been both like a weird and heavy topic, but also like, I don't know. I mean, just look at all the content you can go look at, go find. Like, you don't have to deal with it anymore. I think writers need to get their shit together and stop thinking that they make the world go round, like what they say goes. Sometimes you actually should look at your wider audience and be like, well, hold on, they didn't like this. I shouldn't call it hilarious. I shouldn't not acknowledge the gravity of it. I should introspectively look and say, you know what? This is funny for how absurd it was that this probably would never happen in this way. But we want to be clear. Stuff like this happens all the time. and is truly heartbreaking and devastating, right? But instead it's, well, we thought it was hilarious, you didn't need to take it that dark. Like, what? That's not a dark take, that is the take. It only becomes hilarious when you acknowledge that it can't happen that way and it's absurdist, and you don't double down. Damn it, I'm still on this. I've been on this for like an hour. What am I doing? I should just get off in general. Alright, let's let that keep cooking. Oh my god. I just looked at the time. I've been on this for like more than an hour. I feel like talking about movies in general, or in like shows in general, was relatively easy. Let's just pop up, spot a red. No reds. Actually, I haven't spotted over here too much for RGs. I know I put this stuff away, but I think nothing short of a 145 at this point. Maybe a 140. I'm curious how other people see it. Are they just like, hey, fuck it, it's a show? Because I feel like that's how I definitely used to be, and I feel like I still am. Like I said, it didn't become, I don't want to say real, but like real, you know, until the person who wrote it expressed that it was meant to be hurtful, especially. Right? This also could be a case of the way it was reported is sort of, it's not out of context, but like out of, I guess it is out of, not out of context in that we know the question that was asked, but like out of context of the overall I suppose demeanor of the interviewee. Interviewee. Like maybe what's omitted here is the conversation 10 minutes after where he explains it's based off his real life experience and it needed to be this over the top and borderline realistic because it represents him or something. You know what I mean? Like maybe they left that out because it's not as sensational. So we could give the benefit of the doubt on that. I don't know. I feel like Invincible did pretty good with like a lot of the heavy subjects that they've approached, although they did kind of like backtrack a little bit on the abusive father thing. Alright, I think I'm gonna just land and get off for the night. I'm sorry it was kind of a boring one tonight. It's probably the way it's gonna be for the foreseeable future. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. I'll probably get back on in a little bit just to actually, let's just check the food stitch. No. Okay, we're good. I thought so. Anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Hope to see you in the next one, all that good shit. I don't know, if you have topics you want to talk about or relevant experience in the field, maybe you're a writer, maybe you're the guy in particular for some reason watching this. I don't know why you're here. Leave a comment, tweet at me. You know the thing, subscribe, I don't fucking know, do something. Have a fantastic night though. Thanks for being here, thanks for hanging out. I complain a lot, and I'll catch you